Welcome to the ancient Americas,
including
the mound buildings,
the Anasazi,
the Aztecs,
the Mayans, and the Incas. So now I'm interviewing Russell on the Mayas. So where did the Mayas live?
They lived in Mexico and Central America, surrounded by lush rainforests, rugged mountains, and deserts, and it was typically cold in the north and hot in the south.
What were they like?
They were a big farming culture. They started in 300 AD and lasted until about 900 AD, and they used something called slash and burn agriculture.
What were their major achievements?
Some of the Mayas' achievements were that they created a calendar that told them when to hold religious festivals. They also created a writing system which used signs and symbols called hieroglyphs. Also, it took the Spanish many years and several expeditions to eliminate the Mayans. They also encountered many diseases. The Mayas created a ball game which was passed down. People play it today, and we played it in PE.
Okay, I'm here with Michael today talking about the Incas. Where did they live, Michael?
So the Incas lived along the Andes Mountains from what is now Ecuador to Argentina.
What were they like?
So they had relay runners who were used to carry messages to and from the capital at Cusco. And then they also believed that the emperor was a descendant of the sun god. The emperor was the only person who could own land, and he divided it among the people. All the people were expected to pay taxes, so men would farm land, mine gold, or build roads, and women would weave clothes for government officials. And they did this because the empire was taking care of them.
Okay, what were some of their major achievements?
So they created quipas, which were knotted strings, which government officials noted informations about births, deaths, taxes, and harvests. And then also they created, the Incas made walls, and they made the walls so that it's large, many-sided stones put together almost perfectly, so that not even a knife blade could be able to slip in between. And then they also, the city Machu Picchu is a great example of the Incas building and engineering. It's a city high up in the Andes Mountains. Here's my model. And it's located between two peaks. So, as you can see, they carved roads and stairs into the rock.
Terraces, right?
Yes, terraces. So here are the terraces right here. And
That was used to farm land because of such steep.
Yes, so it made great farmland because they built aqueducts and canals, and it turned the soil fertile. And then they grew crops on these terraces, such as maize, which is corn.
Mm-hmm. How did their civilization end?
One of the Spanish conquistadors named Pizarro, he came and he ordered that the Incan leader, Atahualpa, was to be killed. And then after this, it took him about 40 years until the last Incan was killed, and his name was Tupac Amaru, and he ordered that his body be dismembered to stop any further Inca resistance. Incan farming techniques, such as terracing, are still used in the Andes today. The Inca economy was not based on money. Since the Inca territory was so huge, foodstuffs that could not be grown in a certain area were regularly imported on a barter basis. It is no doubt by means of regular barter trade with the Amazon rainforest Indians that the Incas obtained tropical feathers, as well as resins and medicinal plants. So I'm with Nate and we are talking about the mound builders. So where did they live?
They lived in part of the United States called the Eastern Woodlands.
what were the mound builders like?
They were religious and they worshiped many gods. And they were also mound builders, obviously. And they made this mountain here. It's called the Serpent.
This mound.
Yeah.
And it's correct that they buried people inside of these mounds, correct?
Correct.
What were their major accomplishments?
Their major accomplishments were building mounds.
Which were unnatural.
Yes.
And it took thousands of workers to build these.
Yes.
How did their civilization end?
Their civilization ended because either they just left suddenly, or the Europeans came in and led to sickness.
How did the Spanish conquistadors affect their civilization?
Well, they didn't really, because when they came in, the mound builders just drove them right back out and killed some of them.
What did they want or
They-
need?
They wanted works of art to worship their ancestors, and they wanted clear land for their mounds.
Did they trade?
Yes, they did. They were involved in extensive trade, and they needed belongings to put in their burial.
To respect the dead.
Yes.
I am with Patrick, and we are talking about the people of the Southwest. So where do they live?
Well, just like Michael said, they live in the Southwest, around the four corner states of New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, and Utah. And as you see here, they're also called the Anasazi.
Yeah, they are.
What were they like?
They were very religious, and they had kivas, special buildings underground that they would worship in. And they were stewards of the environment, preserving every last bone of an animal that they would kill. They were also very architecturally sound and great at engineering. As you can see right here, Mesa Verde, it's lasted over thousands of years.
What were their major accomplishments?
Architecture was one of them, and their architecture was super smart because they built under a cliff, which protected it from any wind, rain, or weathering. And also aqueducts in their farming, because it's so dry in the Southwest and people needed to water their crops, so that was very big.
How did their civilization end?
No one knows for sure, probably a catastrophic event. There's theories of warlike and violence, there are theories of drought.
Did the Spanish conquistadors impact this civilization?
Well, the Spanish conquistadors, after 12 years of trying, they finally got in. The Anasazi holding them off for 12 years, and they basically took over the land.
How did one of their accomplishments, how did it contribute to later culture?
Well, their aqueducts, farming in the Southwest, those are blueprints for cities today. Like, an example would be Phoenix. The Phoenix has modernized the aqueducts that they used for the Anasazi.
And what was their economy like?
Their economy, they did not have any real form of currency, but they traded their crop and whatever they had from their harvest. And what was the last bullet point?
What were their needs or wants?
Their needs obviously were materials for building. In fact, they would get wood from distant regions, special wood, and they would have it brought in so they could build these great architectural buildings. This is an example of pueblos, the Anasazi's way of building. They consisted of high huts and they climbed up in ladders. They would also have kivas that were lower, and they would go in there and pray and sing songs.
So today I'm interviewing Tyler Corman on the Aztecs. Where did the Aztecs live?
The Aztecs lived in modern-day Mexico City.
What were they like?
They were very warlike, and that was their main characteristic, and believed in one another.
Were some of them Artesians?
Yeah, they were. There were a lot of Artesians.
Okay.
Their major achievements were causeways, aqueducts, sunstone, and this thing right here, the floating gardens, was a big one because they lived in a swampy area and didn't have a real food source, and they used this to supply them with food.
How did their civilization end?
They Spanish conquistadors,
Hernan Cortez was
led
the
by
leader.
Hernan Cortez, attacked them and took over their empire.